last week because I went into the wrong area and I was like, how do I start? I hadn't
You're live.
Hang out in a while. So it looks like we're live. I'm going to turn my camera on a second.
Oh yeah, my camera's not plugged in, is it?
Oh goodness.
I mean, I'm eating food, so I don't really want to turn my camera on. That's a little rude. Everyone at home just watching is going, look at me eat the food.
Greetings and salutations. If you're joining us, we'll be getting started in a little bit. My name is Tony Ross from Tonyteach.com. And I am joined on this hangout. We're going to be rigging a character in Toon Harmony using the Bone Deformer. I'm joined by Eric Faris.
Hello.
And say hello. Hopefully, also later in I've got a couple of other buddies of mine that hopefully will be joining the call. My partner, Chris Cartledge, who does my drawing for me. Excellent animator and illustrator. And maybe a few of my other animator friends, and they're going to be, I invited them along so they can kind of be kind of looking over my shoulder, kind of hey, how did you do that? Now, is this normally kind of done this way? Or, hey, in Flash, you would have to do this, or blah, blah, blah. And to the best of my ability, I will answer their questions and possibly your questions as well.
We're here to scrutinize them. We're judging you.
Great. Let's see. Where is my camera? Oh, there. Not camera. Screen share.
I'm getting a glimpse into your office.
Yes, it's
Is that Yuna? Is it Yuna? I think it's Yuna. I can never remember her name, but I know her.
Yes. Yes. All the Final Fantasy characters in the background, those are my wives. Those not wives, those belong to my wife, single. Oh dear. I need to actually come up with a cup holder for my desk.
Yeah, build it.
All right. So yeah, let's see. It's 3:01. We are going to start at about 3:05. I'm going to be using Toon Harmony Essentials. But if you are familiar, and even if you're not familiar, the cool thing what Toon recently did was created a new Harmony, and it's Harmony 12. So there's 3 different versions. There's Essentials, there is Advanced, and then there's Premium. And there's it's pretty much made it the most affordable it's ever been. But the really cool thing is I can open up a file. If someone is working in Harmony Premium, which is, by the way, is used for Bob's Burgers, Simpsons, Wander Over Yonder, lots of stuff. Almost anything that's pretty popular right now in 2D, a lot of it's done with Toon Harmony. So I can open up one of those files on the bottom of the line software, Toon Essentials, which is Toon Harmony Essentials, which is pretty freaking cool. So I applaud them on doing that. I'm getting ready to turn off my camera because, in case you didn't know this, there's a thing with Google Chrome and Hangouts and on a Mac, and then it'll send your computer into overdrive, so my fans are on right now. Besides, we got to see my screen. So getting ready to do that.
We must see the master at work.
Say entire screen share. Yay!
Jump yay, that effect. I know there's a name for that effect, and I can never remember what it is.
Oh man, of course you said it, and I just ran right out of my head. Let's see. I'm going to hide everyone so it's easier to see. Oh, cool! This is perfect. There's a funny bug in Toon Boom software. There are not a lot of them, unlike other programs that shall remain nameless. You know, maybe I should actually turn my phone off. But one of the
It's so unprofessional.
It's like one of the bugs that's actually in Flash. If you notice, I just opened this up and I don't see any of my palettes or anything. It's like, wait a minute, what the heck's wrong with this? If that ever happens to you, just click on the timeline, and of course I'm saying that now. I have to click directly on one of the drawings. There we are. Boom, everything shows up. But yeah, over this little lesson, we're going to make our little dude dance around a bit. This is actually, and I'm not officially starting it, but I'm just kind of playing around with this. This little character is based off of, I was doing a training recently, and I was showing off the bone deformer, and I just drew a green blob, and one of my students said, "It's a pepper," and I'm going, "I love peppers. Let's make a pepper." So yeah, the eventually we're going to be using this guy over and over. My pet peeve, or I'll say my goal, what we're working on, part of the rebranding of Tonyteach, is we're going to be building these characters, and it's cool to show us someone a tutorial, but you would probably love to see a tutorial done of like, hey, this is how you would rig, I don't know, Homer Simpson, or here's how you would rig Bob from Bob's Burgers or something like that. I'm not one of those people, and I don't know if they will even ever show that. They'll show you how to draw them. But what we wanted to do is start creating characters that, for lack of a better reference, people actually care or give a damn about. And there's going to be more talk on that later. I think one of our experiments we did about 3 months ago, it's been the highest viewed video we've done with Tonyteach, and it's to the point of like, wow, I think in 3 months it's over 7,000 views. Now, for some of you who have bigger audiences, that might not be a lot. For us, it was just like, whoa, that normally takes us a couple of years or something. But it's just, and we were working with Camper, but we'll talk about her later. The Camper, the Intergalactic Bounty Hunter. She's got a project coming out. We'll be releasing next week, actually, but more on that later.
It was actually the video that got me to subscribe to you.
That was the video
that got me to subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I actually was writing someone today going, okay, explain to me why this one is it just because of the way she looks? Is it what we were teaching? So, but she seems very popular and people like her. So she's not gone away. She's about to be in her own little 30-second short, and we're going to show exactly how we did that. But yeah, this is the pepper, and it's obviously, well, I don't want to say it's obviously a puppet. We work pretty decent on this, and there's drawing substitutions. Matter of fact, let me turn on yes, there are drawing substitutions. Like I can change what's happening with the little hair flap there, as well as we did drawing substitutions where he's blinking. And of course, the mouth. The mouth, we're going to be bringing back Pepper a little bit later. We're going to do a full training, a free hangout on lip sync. Yeah, all the mouths are done. But for this training, this is mainly going to show you how we are going to go from the very beginning, not drawing this, but rigging this and using the bone deformer. And I normally do characters using the, what's that thing called? Oh, I normally use like just regular hinged rigging. But this one is a lot of bone deformers. And the cool thing about the bone deformer, it's actually available in all versions of Toon Boom Harmony. So even the bottom of the line, when I'm actually going to be building this in Toon Boom Harmony Essentials. If you have Essentials, what's the word I'm looking for? Essentials, Advanced, or Premium, you can still open this and work with it. Of course, if you're working in Premium, you can open it and start working with the curve deformer. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is what we're going to be building, and it's not It's nothing too fancy. He's just kind of like, ta-da! Look what I can do. One of these calls, we'll probably do it in the evening. I have to get my voice artist Demarcus, who's an incredible talent. I like to send him stuff, and then he'll go, I think the voice should be this, and he's great. He's my Mel Blanc. Anyway, so this is the completed animation, and we've been sending out emails and stuff. We're trying something new. If you want to get this rig, the puppet rig, it is actually on our Sellfy link, and you can get it for free. The only thing you have to do is to simply tweet about it. So that's our request. Meanwhile, let me open up our recent document, the pepper, and we'll start this off. And in case you did not know, I am on a Mac. This software, Toon Boom Harmony, does work on Mac and PC.
Don't worry, we won't hold that against you.
I can use both, but I likes what I like. So anyway, the cool part is, and to let you know, and we can work, my business partner Chris and I, we work back and forth. He's on a PC, and so I'll send him a file, and we kick the files back and forth. There's nothing weird happening with that. I'm going to be talking through some of this as if I think a lot of the people coming to Harmony for the first time, or coming to Toon Boom for the first time, are coming from a Flash background. I used to animate and teach in Flash, and don't get me wrong, I still use it if I need something interactive, but usually we will animate everything in Toon Boom and then export it and bring that SWF into Flash and then add interactivity to it. That being said, we have all of these layers here. I'm going to turn off the animate button. This little guy, if you're ever working in Flash, you're probably used to things automatically animating. I'm going to turn this button off because I don't want any of the things we do to start causing keyframes or movement. So this is why we're building the body. And what we did is, you can see on the timeline, there's all these little dashes. And what these are drawing substitutions. What that basically means is, if you're coming from a Flash background, imagine a graphic symbol, and you can do that little single frame mode, and you can call different hands or different mouths or something like that. The thing about working in Toon Boom that I love, these are drawings. These are not symbols. So drawings in Toon Boom is kind of like a graphic symbol on steroids. There's a lot you can do with it. So I'm going to solo this layer for a minute, just so you can see what's going on. So we have all these different hands. And the only thing I need for right now is it to be on this hand here. So what I'm going to do is I'll show my library. And it shows the little drawing substitution area. And then this, someone was asking me recently, well, how do you see a preview of what's going on? So you can actually use the drawing substitutions here. I typically don't use this window. It's just a personal preference. And one of the reasons is I can select all of these frames here. I'm going to change all of these to a certain number. So I can use my bracket keys, my left and right bracket keys, and it'll go to wherever I need it to go.
And once you've made those substitutions, you no longer have to keep those frames, right? It's permanently saved.
Right. Yes, it's saved. Good question. Because a lot of people don't get that. They're like, oh no, you deleted them. I didn't delete them. They're still there. Like, I can come here later, because we're going to be doing this when he does this little leap. We're going to go, oh yeah, his hand's going to open. So at frame 30, I can change this to this hand. So it's all the way there, then goes boom. Surprise! So,
one thing I was actually curious about, how do you get rid of one of those substitutions? If you drew one, you don't like anymore, you want to get rid of it to save space, how would you delete that?
How do you delete it? Well, technically, you can kind of go into. We're in the camera view right now. I jump to drawing view, and if I want to get rid of this, I can go ahead and take this out or redraw it here. There's also you can name your different areas, and so this, for instance, let's say if I messed up on something, I can simply do Command D. That's Control D on PC. Of course, I'm doing that now. It's acting weird. Stop that. Command D. Thank you. And you can name it. So, for instance, if you have hand 5, hand 7, or something like that, but you'll know any of the other ones like to ignore. Or again, go into your drawings and just kind of erase that out. So it's just a blank area. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you next how to rename them. So it's Control D, and it'll allow you to rename it.
Yes.
Good to know. I'll remember that.
Yes. Oh, and this is important. Where you are and when you actually press certain things, it's pretty important. I have a option turned on, which I'm not going to show you right now, but whenever I move my cursor in the timeline area, it's making that active. If I move it in the camera area, it's making that area active. So if I do Command D right now, of course now it's working. Sometimes if it's not working, it might be because my cursor is in the camera view versus in the timeline view. So for right now, let me get back here and I'll put him back to the hand he's supposed to be. Now if you noticed, I went too far, and so I can even turn off the hands for a bit and then turn them back on. But we're not doing that. Let's see. We need you to go to 4. So where are we going? I'm going to yank you up to 4. Just using my little perimeters there. All right.
I'll have you back in a moment. My dad needs my help real quick.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead to the rest of these layers. I'm going to zoom out here. And I'll do the same thing. I want the mouth to be a certain frame for all the time here. So make sure it's going to be the right one. Let's see, frame 2. Okay. And we'll do the same thing with eyebrows. Make all those in the same drawing. And just going down here and just turning off all these extra drawing substitutions. So now, in theory, if I scrub my playhead through all these frames, everything is good. And he's not doing anything he shouldn't do. He's not doing any movement at all. All right, looks pretty decent. So for the first thing I want to do is do a bone rig on the hand here. And to do this, I'm going to go up to the top of my screen, and I see this little the rigging tool, which has an icon of a hammer and a wrench. So I'm just going to click once, and I'm on the hand layer. I don't want to be on the hand layer. I'm going to go to the right arm layer, and I can see that it's highlighted there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click once for the shoulder. I'm going to click once for the elbow, once for the wrist, and then click a little bit further out for the hand. Now, if you look, this is just on if I actually solo this, this is just on the arm layer. The hand layer is not even here at all. Now, when we look at this, we have our pivot, which is at the very top here. And then this little area here, this little circle is referred to as the articulator. And by default, it's going to try to make this about the same size. What you really want it to do is make it about the same width as the actual arm, leg, or whatever you're trying to bend. And I think I want to actually bring this articulator a little bit further up. And I want to shrink this just for the wrist here. And we might have to adjust this. But one of the things you have to pay attention to is when you're working with the bone rigging tool, everything here is in red. And it lets you know that's while you're working and you're not animating it, you're just setting it up. And if you look down here on the timeline, pardon me, if you look down here on the timeline, we've got all these different bones that are happening, and don't really want you to worry about that yet. What I do want to do is test out how this is going to look. So I'm going to go to my transform tool at this point, and when I click on that, this is now green. So we got our pivot point and this line in the middle, the bone. Then we have our articulator right at the elbow. We've got another bone here at the forearm and another articulator right at the wrist. Last bone is right where the hand would be. So to move this, I'm going to simply move my cursor until I see that icon change. So I can kind of bend it here. And you might be thinking, dude, where's your hand? We'll get to that in a second. So I'm looking to see how this bends, and if I like that, it looks pretty decent. And you, of course, can bend the upper arm. Let's do Command-Z to undo that. And what I want to do now is get this hand to be a part of this. Now, the cool part about the rigging tool, using the bone rig, I'm going to solo the hand for a minute. So the hand is not really kind of fully drawn in there at all as far as where the black line is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the hand and I'm going to drag this right above or right with the bone here. And I need to make sure they're in order. So the right arm is going to be on top of the right hand. And now, if I rotate this bone, hand is coming along with it. And if you look at the deformation here, this is one of the coolest parts about this. Looks pretty decent there. Now, there's one thing I think I want to change. I think the wrist, these lines here, I don't really like them in front. So, what I want to do, I'm going to do a little bit of nudging here. I'm on my transform tool, and I'm going to click on the hand. So, this is important. Make sure you're on the transform tool, clicking on the hand, and I'm going to hold down my Option key, Alt on PC, and I'm going to use my arrow keys. Now, technically, it's the down arrow, but think of it as pointing toward you or bringing something toward you. So holding down Option, I'm going to press the down arrow once. And of course, that did not do what I needed to do. Why not? Let's try you one more time. Why are you not moving forward? Right hand. Yes.
That's actually a problem that I had when I was testing out a Toon Boom. Like I would see you do it on screen. I'm like, okay, click, click. Why didn't it do it?
Huh.
And then randomly one day it just decided to start working again, and I have no idea why.
That is weird. Okay, we'll come back to that. But for now, we've got the cool thing about the bone deformer, if you look, it's doing this. It's literally deforming. Like you can. And let me trash this up real quick so you can see cutting into something. And that is all taken care of by the articulator. How large this is. Now, when you're working on this, you're going to be running back and forth and tweaking things. And if you want to change it, you'll simply go back to the rig and you'll go, okay, well, maybe I need to change the size of this a little bit. Okay? And this is kind of bugging me. So we can come back here. Fine, don't work. Okay. So we did that arm. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. And by the way, it's probably always a good thing to label your layers because there's going to be a lot of bones here. So this is going to be the right arm. Make a big B. We'll collapse that. Zoom out and let's look at, where's your other arm? Dude, where's your other arm? There it is. We'll do this while we're thinking about it. Zoom in, and of course it's going, but hey, here's the other bone. I'm going to simply go up here and say show selected ones only. So that makes that one go away. So we'll rig our second arm here. So shoulder, elbow, wrist. Bring it down a little bit. And turn on the hand so we can actually see what we're doing. Hand. All right, and we'll adjust the articulators again. Looks good. This is going to be the left arm bone. And we'll drag our left hand under here. And let's unsolo these guys. Go to our transform. Okay, looks good, and oh yeah. All right, so that's good. So that's done. Now, typically, when you're working on bones, you want to make sure that everything's kind of straight out. Like if you got like a dog tail or something like that, you'll want to not draw it out curved. You'll draw the dog tail or whatever straight. There are exceptions to the rule, like with the legs. We're going to work on here. Let's turn off our bones that we aren't working on. And the other thing is you can kind of see where the pivot point is by default here. None of that really matters because when we're using our bone deformer, it's going to create the pivot point anyway. So let's go to our rig. Now, if you noticed, as soon as I did that, the hands went straight to their default position. That's because we're in rigging mode. It's going to show you where everything is in its standard position there. So I'm going to solo the right leg a minute here. So we'll go hip, kneecap, ankle, and this is the exception to the rule of doing everything straight. Let's bring our foot out there. Now, let's see. I think I'm going to want to adjust where my ankle is, and definitely want to make the articulator a little bit larger. So again, I'm just trying to make sure it's housing both those lines there. So I'll jump to my transform tool, and I like to try these things out before really moving on. Ooh, that's sweet. That's a nice bend there. Okay, so let's got that set. What is this? The right leg? Yes. Right leg bone. I normally work and almost always work with doing hinged animation. So playing with the bone deformer is something that is kind of new when they added it to Animate Pro or Animate 3. It was just like, oh cool, they've added a deformer, and I started playing with it more in Harmony, And this is pretty friggin' sweet, just to say the least.
Quick question, and this is just kind of a, I guess, theory question is, when you're rigging, I know I've seen a bunch of different creators who rig differently. Do you try to take in mind how you think, or do you rig it the way you think the bones of like the actual bones would look, or just what you think would animate best?
Yes and no. And every situation is different. And it's kind of it's almost like it's wayfinding, or almost like you're literally designing. Um, it depends on what I need. So it may be depending on sometimes your limitations like time or budget may dictate what choices you're going to make. Um, but for the most part, it's based on, yeah, this is where it should bend. Um, there may be a little cheat like we're doing, for instance, the feet here. We didn't do these separate. Um, and it's for two reasons. Sometimes you are going to have pieces like this. Um, and I like talking in food terms, so I think of it like you have a hamburger client and a steak client. If this is probably the arms are more so a steak client in that I did everything separate. Um, and the doing everything off in one piece here and setting up the bones this way, this is more of a hamburger client. Like it's a lot quicker for me to do this way and not worry about extra layers and stuff. Just kind of draw it out really quick, get the project knocked out.
Because with me, I never did like 2D rigging. When I was learning bone animation, I learned when I was studying 3D animation. And whenever I would do 3D animation of a person, they would always make you rig the skeleton as if it was a real skeleton. So you would position it as if it was the real bones, because it gets you the most realistic deformation when you bend like the wrist or bend the arm.
Right.
But I guess in 2D, because you're living in a 2D space, you have to go with whatever's going to look right when it moves.
Oh, definitely. You've got that, and plus it's I think especially if you look at something like Wander Over Yonder or good grief, what is it? Pig, goat, banana, cricket. It's like it's whatever the situation calls for. The cool thing with 2D, it's really about. My mentor used to say like, but does it need to be animated? For lack of a better reference. And if anyone listening has worked on this, or if it's their favorite film, I apologize. Did we really need an animated version of The King and I? No. So it's like, what was the purpose of animating it? Whereas if you look at things like anime or something like that, it's like these different worlds or these things that wouldn't normally happen. So it makes sense to do that. Thank you for disappearing. All right, so we have our legs and our arms done. Where are we at on time? Not bad. Okay. Now for the fun part. We got the left leg, left arm, hat, body. Let's work on the body. The body, I'm going to go ahead and solo for a minute. And let's grab our rigging tool. Now, am I starting from the head? No, because I want the pivot point actually be in the tail. And this is also one of those things where the drawing is actually curved. So I'm going to go one here, one about midway, and one at the top. Now, obviously, that articulator's got to be a little bit larger. And I'm going to have to play with this one for a minute. So we'll go to Transform and see how this is going to look. Okay, I know I'm not going to bring it back that far, but that's pretty decent there. Looks good. And of course, you can do that. Looks good. Excellent. All right. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. Let's go ahead and make this the body bone. Of course, you cannot have any layers named the same thing. And I'm going to unsolo this. And what we'll do now is we want, let's see, the mouth, the eyebrows, eyes and nose, which this is another one of those hamburger steak clients. Technically, eyes and nose are kind of a hamburger move because if this were a steak client, the nose would actually have its own bone deformer and be on its own layer. So, and again, if you're just joining me, why am I talking about food? I'm talking about budget because a lot of times it's a lot of your projects are based on budget and time constraints. The joke I like to always say is when I was teaching web design, someone would come in and go, I need a 50-page website and I need it by Friday. That's not possible. I've got 50 grand. Okay, now that's possible. So it depends on what
money speeds things up.
Yes. So what I want to do is bring this under the body.
But it also creates a bit of a budget within the animation itself because even though you could have the nose being separate from the eyes, in many ways it would seem like it would be kind of a waste because if you're going to do the substitution for the eyes anyway, if you ever needed to animate the nose, you could technically just do that as a substitution since the nose isn't going to do too much on its own.
True, but and I'll counter with this. I like to be prepared for if I need to do something later. Then it's like, oh yeah, but I wanted the nose bent and I wanted the eyes looking over here, and so it gets a little tricky. So I think the more the more layers you have, the more options you have for future things. So yes, I agree with you, and again, it would almost depend on the client you're working with. Sure. I have some clients that know exactly what they want and they're cool. Then I have other clients that I have to design for because I'm going, you're going to change this in about 3 weeks. So,
Gotta
anyway,
love those clients.
Yes, they're great. Dude, I forgot your hair. Let's bring what are we missing? Oh, your hat. It's not in there. Okay, I'm going to drag that into the deformation. Okay, now for the fun part. We got this moving. Yes, indeed, I am a pepper. But this is broken. Let me show you how broken. Let's bend this forward.
That's Chris.
Look at that nose. That nose is all jacked up.
Because the nose is caught within the loop of the animation.
Well, yeah, it's in the deformation. So what we need to do is set this up so I want to actually move this actually a little bit lower. Move the body on top here. Actually, this is going to be fun because we're going to see if my nudging is going to work this time. So,
hey, I just realized something. You could do that whenever you want him to turn that way.
Dude, that is awesome. That is kind of I thank you. Gold star for Eric. Okay, so I'm going to come up here now. I've got all this selected. Click once, and if I hold on my Option key, press down. Thank you, God.
It worked.
It worked. And now what that is it's nudging something forward in Z space. So on my layers, even though the body is above it, the mouth and all those pieces are actually in front. Now, we still haven't solved the deformation piece. Like, look at his eyes. Like, it's getting all weird there. And like, I've got issues. Okay. So what we're going to do is it's called, oh man, it is called the kinematic output.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, exactly. Prolix grandiloquence creates assonance, thus effectuation bemused. Translation: big words used to impress people only confuses them and makes them angry. That being said, kinematic output, I remember seeing that going, dude, what is that? Kinematic output is basically saying we're going to place certain elements inside this little envelope, and we're saying, dude, do not deform this stuff in this little envelope. So kinematic output equals bone deformation freeze, or if you're using the curve deformer, curve deformation freeze. So Those are the words that are going to pop in your head anytime you see kinematic output, bone deformation freeze. So that being said,
It's basically a nice little thing that checks it off and says, "Do not deform. Do not deform. Do not deform. For the love of God."
Like, stop deforming. So what I'm going to do is grab come up here
Otherwise
to
you create nightmare
layers. Huh?
I said, otherwise you create nightmare fuel.
Exactly. So I'm going to go to layers and come down to kinematic output and or bone deformation freeze. Okay, so it did this little parenting thing just with the mouth, but we do need it for the other pieces. So let's grab the eyebrows, eyes, nose, and hair. And let's drag those. So they're also part of that, and put the mouth back on top where it was. Now, got to see if this is going to work. So now if I try to bend this, the nose is okay. The nose is okay. And on top of that, I can still come in. Technically, and I can group, or let me think. I want to group these. What I want to do: eyes, nose, and mouth. I can put all these little guys into a peg if needed. But the main thing is you'd be able to stop that. Not the hair. Just you guys. All right, got the mouth, eyes, and eyebrows. I can move this around if needed to actually push some of the animation movement. But we're not doing that today. All right, so kinematic output, by the way. Let's see, I'm going to call this face underscore KO. Now, why am I calling it KO? Kinematic output. Why am I not calling it like my little abbreviation for bone deformation freeze? I try not to get cute with layer names, because in case I forget that months later, I'm going to need to know what it is.
You need to have like your own little cheat sheet every time you come up with a cute name.
Yes, exactly. It's like one of those. Now, what was I called again? And this is also why you always name your layers. So we've got that going. Everything looks good. We've got everything rigged. Looks awesome. 341. We're doing good. So now what I want to do. One. We're going to go ahead and set up a peg for our little guy here. And if you ever run into, I'm gonna come over here to the right to the end and just simply click add peg. I've noticed something sometimes if you ever get an alert and it's in it'll say something like, hey, you can't add a peg or something like that. What you may want to do is simply select one of the layers and then add the peg. But we didn't have that problem, so you can either add the peg here or you can come down here and add the peg. I just normally click this guy. And we're going to call this our, let's see, Master Pepper.
Master Bone.
Say Master Bone? I'm not calling him a Master Bone. Okay, so let's drag this up to the top. Any day now. You know what? Fine. We'll go the other way. We'll grab all of our layers and we'll drag them on top of our Master Pepper Peg. Master Pepper Peg. And this is also the cool part because I'm going to collapse this. It looks a little more efficient. That, and you'll notice when we start making our keyframes, it's going to work a little better if this is collapsed. Now, with the peg, I do want to set up a pivot point. If you look by default, it's kind of sitting around a little bit low there. So I'm going to go up to the top here to my rotate tool. This is the advanced animation tools. If you don't see those, go to Windows, Toolbars, Advanced Animation. By the way, I don't think I've actually made one public, but if you're trying to figure, if you're in Harmony and going, Hey, how do I get my screen to look like Tony's screen? This is actually my custom. So it's it says Tonyteach 1. It's not. It's based off the default, but this is a. I may have to actually do that tutorial. I don't think I've actually done one. I did one ages ago for Animate, but I don't think I've done one for Harmony. So anyway, advanced animation. Dude, where did that go? Oh, okay. I was like, I had to make sure I'm selecting the right layer. So I'm going to bring. That's almost confusing. Let me turn off the bone here. Stop that. Thank you. All the bones are off now.
Too many things.
Yes, it was one of those. Like, wait, what? So I'm selecting our puppet. Go to my rotate, and this little guy is allowing me to adjust the pivot point. And the pivot point, think of it like a thumbtack on a piece of paper, like where things are going to rotate from. So now, if I go back to my transform tool, the pivot point's at the base, which is awesome because now we can kind of go, dude, I'm leaning forth and back. One of the problems with a lot of people working with puppets, especially in 2D or if they're vectors, don't think of your puppet as made of stone. It's flexible. Squash and stretch, make it believable. All right, now we got everything rigged. Boom. What time is it? 3:45. I'm going to turn on my animate button because we're ready to start animating. So what I'm going to do is I'll select frame 1. I'm going to enter a keyframe. So simply press F6. And what I'm going to do here is go to my very next frame. I'm going to set my key poses at this point. Let's do F6 again. Going to zoom in. And I think what I'm going to do, grab the arm. Any day now. Grab the arm. Stop that. You know what? I'm going to use a shortcut key. Let's press the letter B. Or not. I'm going to, thank you, zoom in and select the arm. By the way, I'm using my scroll wheel. Zoom. So got the arm, and now I do want to actually see the deformer. So I'm going to show the selected deformation. This little square, pay no attention to him, ignore him. I'm going to bend the arm here and say, okay, I want this to be a little bit back. And we will break the joint a little bit. And we'll go to our other arm. Now I'm turning these on and off because I like only working with what I'm working with. All right. And by the way, let's go ahead and I'm going to use my bracket keys, I think. For both of these guys. So I'm selecting, if you notice, I'm not just selecting the bone, I'm actually selecting the hand. And that's allowing me to do different drawing, or calling the different drawing substitutions. And let's do the bone for the leg. It's going to do a little bit of a bending my leg. Don't be afraid to point that toe. All right, let's go to our other leg here. Going to bend that down. Bend you a little bit more forward. And last but not least, we're going to bend the body a little. So there, yeah. Oh, by the way, one last thing. Let's turn on our onion skin.
Yeah,
so I can see the previous frame. Did you have a question?
No, I was just saying, yay, onions.
All right, and I kind of want him a little bit forward, so let's go previous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good. And what I'll do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and let me think. Maybe I'll go ahead and copy this first keyframe. Copy and go to frame 3 and paste it. Paste. By the way, do not paste if your cursor is in a camera view. Make sure you're in the timeline view because we're pasting what's happening in the timeline. All right, so, and maybe we'll have them kind of look a little more normal. All right. Oh, one other thing. Forgot this. Let's go make sure his mouth is going. Ah, there you go. All right. So we got our key poses done. So what I'm going to do now, I'm at 24 frames a second. So I'm going to separate these guys, bring it up to about, let's see, frame 20. So I'm going to turn off my onion skin. Okay. Now, fun part. You're getting there way too slow, dude, and then you're like snapping back off. So, remember since we actually already copied frame 1, I can come up here to about, let's say, what? Let's do 13. Paste.
Welcome back, Chris.
Oh, is Chris here?
Yeah, thank you.
He was here a little while ago, and then he left, and now he's back.
Hi, Chris.
I had to go help my dad also.
Yeah, Chris is my biz partner and illustrator, animator extraordinaire. Chris is the person behind making stuff look pretty. I normally draw rough blue sticks and go, "You make this look good."
Beautify it.
Yes. I baked the cake, he frosted, and he frosted very well. So what? Huh? I know. Well, everyone's eating food, so that's why I use food. It's like almost everyone on the call has eaten food. Everyone's heard this, so if I make a food reference, you understand it. So okay. So I'm just grabbing this. So he's going to hold for this, and going. Looks good. And let's see. I'll have him hold this pose for a few frames. So I'm just copying and pasting here. Looks good. And one little fun thing I'm going to do. This is going to be very sloppy, but I'm going to do a little bit of anticipation. So I'll copy this first frame again. That's because it's holding this, still right there. And right here, what I'll do is I'll lean him back a little bit as if he's getting ready to do something. All right, and while he's here, what we can do, and again, this is all because the animate button is on, he's gone up on his toe. I'm going to move the pivot point mid-animation, which Flash would kill you for, and or your work. And we'll rotate a little bit that way. All right, so we'll go to each one of these keys, and then we'll grab our arm, and we'll rotate that just a little bit. Rotate the other arm just a little bit. That is the wrong tool. I always do that. Transform. Thank you. So again, it's just kind of having a little bit of fun, making him look like he's Trying to keep his balance here.
This, kiddies, is what we call in-betweening.
Yes.
The part that everyone hates to admit we have to do.
And at the same time, I can come up here to the pepper itself and just kind of every other frame, just kind of go, oh yeah. All right, so in theory, play, dude.
That looks so weird.
I was like, okay, this is Tony not going in and spacing out his keys fast enough. Like I always forget this, but typically I work at a weird frame rate, and I'll explain. We're at 24 frames a second right now, so a lot of times I'll do keys as if I'm at 15. I always work like at a 15 frame rate or 12, and in some cases, as of late, there's a project Chris and I are working on where we're using, I think, 8 frames a second. And we do that because, well, I think when I first started teaching, and long before the internet had the speed that it was, I remember Happy Tree Friends, they did their animation based on 8 frames a second, and I was just like, holy wow, that is awesome. So I started teaching, I would teach things like at 12 frames a second or 15 frames a second because we could export the SWF, and I didn't worry about the pull down necessarily because the computer was going to go ahead and if I said, hey, drop this into Premiere or Final Cut, whatever, it was automatically going to place those drawings on 2s. So worked for me. So I still sometimes do my keys as if I'm running that slow. That's better.
A majestic creature.
Excellent.
You took a red hot pepper and turned it into a flaming pepper.
Can we say that? It's like, actually, anyone who knows me knows that I love spicy food. We're actually working on a salsa cookbook, and I have people always wondering why I'm posting random cookbook things. It's because my friends on my Facebook feed, there's Dave DeWitt, the Pope of Peppers, who's written over 40 books on chili peppers, is one of my Facebook friends. So I've got to send this to him. Shameless plug, or say I'm going to say hi, Dave, and I'll send this link to him. But I would love to do a series of what would all these chili peppers do? What would a chipotle talk like? Since he's a smoked jalapeno, so maybe he'd talk a little like this or something, you know. It's like hickory smoked. All right, so there we have our rig. Turn that off. By the way, there's one thing I've gone through this entire thing and did not talk about. When you open up Toon Boom, you are not going to see this beautiful vanilla background like that little paper that you were drawing with crayons in elementary school. Yeah, it's not there. This is a color card, and this is actually what it looks like normally. And this also comes in handy if you're going to export. We could export from here. I think by default it's set up at a video for using the animation codec, so you can have a transparent or alpha clear background, and we can drop him into, I don't know, a Food Network movie and have him sitting up on the stove and going, I'm balancing on a skillet, look at me. I have no idea if that's his voice or not, but wow, that's not. I think that's. I love the what's happening on the head there.
The little wiggle.
Oh, dude, I totally forgot something. Oh, and this is the cool part. So we've had the animate button on. I'm going to turn it off and show you a little trick. I'm going to grab my transform tool, grab the, I'm selecting the eyes, and let's say, go right there. I'm going to use my bracket keys to move forward. So it's the next one. I'm going to pull my playhead forward 2 frames. Bracket keys again. 1 more frame. Brackets all the way closed. Dragging the playhead a little bit further. Open bracket. And all the way open. Now mind you, that's drawing substitutions. What confuses some people is, I'm going to open this all the way up. By the way, this is exactly why you use pegs. All these keys, every time I make a key, it's on every single layer, so we're not going to get any mishaps of something not moving earlier and then all of a sudden we're moving it. So in the body, in the face, let's see, eyes and nose. If you look, I'm going to zoom in here. You see these little lines. They're not keyframes, and that's the cool part about drawing substitutions. And I know I was training someone, some former Flash users, and they're like, "Well, I'm going to call them a keyframe." It's like, it's a drawing substitution, and the beauty of that is you can get away with stuff like that. Like, I didn't have to worry about or changing my keys or anything. And again, I wanted to show off that I turned off my animate. I could have left it on; didn't matter. But the beauty of being able to scrub your playhead and just using keyboard commands and calling out different things is kind of cool. So there we have it. There is our pepper, and there is the bone rig. Boom, 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 boom.
Yay!
What time is it? 4 o'clock. That's actually pretty impressive, Tony. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to... what am I going to do?
You're going to hypnotize us all.
Evidently. Well, one, stop showing you my email. So, let me go to... Where's the actual page? Am I on the page? Words. Make sure I don't hang up on anyone. I have no idea. I always forget that's on delay. I'm going to...
We can hear it.
Okay, let me close that window. All right. Go back. All right. So, Chris, Eric, any comments, questions?
I mean, you've answered the questions I had earlier. Those ones were kind of big in my head the whole time I was trying to learn the program.
Coolness. Yeah, it's don't get me wrong. I remember the first time I ever saw a Toon Boom product, it was just like, wait, what? And so then once learning it, it's like one of those things of it can look a little bit threatening. It's just you just have to have someone break it down to you, and the beauty of it is once you get used to it, especially coming from a Flash background, once you get used to it, the amount of time you save in doing it's so incredibly awesome. I think also what's going to end up happening, it even became a certain term. People even refer to it as Flash animation, even if it wasn't done in Flash. A lot of it became very static looking. There wasn't a lot of movement. There wasn't definitely no camera movement because there's no real camera. You'd have to actually export from Flash, go to After Effects. But I think what's starting to happen is the artwork and the animation that's coming out now. People who are using products like Harmony, you can almost look at it and go, yeah, that wasn't done in Flash, because you have time to actually think, breathe, and animate, and you're not having to trick the program into doing something for you. So, that being said, did I run into a few glitches here? Yes, but they are nothing like the glitches in that other program that will remain nameless. I mean, because don't get me wrong, I still use Flash for what it's used for, but I animate almost strictly in Toon Boom. Let's see, what am I needing now? Oh yes, let's see if I can show you guys something. Recent. There
It's
you
actually
are.
funny because I've been using Anime Studio a little bit lately to do my update videos, which has been definitely interesting trying to use that program.
I'm um I will hold my comments on Anime Studio until I'm not on record. So
My only problem with Anime Studio is I don't like the fact that they call it Anime Studio because it's
well, it was called
lying to
Moho.
you.
It was made by a company called Lost Marble, and it was called Moho. I was familiar with it long before, actually before I even knew about Toon Boom. I knew about that, but it was called the company was called Lost Marble. Program is called Moho, and it did some pretty awesome stuff. Still does some pretty awesome stuff.
Now it's owned by Smith Micro.
Yes. Yeah.
I just think it's a little misleading because they call it Anime Studio and they make it seem like you can create what would typically, if you're using the term anime, would be the anime of you would notice in Japan and all. But
yeah.
you can't.
That's,
You can't. It's a puppet animator. That's
Yeah.
all it can really do is puppet animation, which is fine, and it does a decent job at it. I've made my update videos with it, and they've turned out just fine. But a lot of the things that you're doing here, they're just now starting to catch up with, really, with like the better deformations and all. Like they're
Right.
just really starting to catch up to that. And with me, the reason I get angry at it is because I don't want to just do the puppet animation. I'm a fan of traditional, drawing every single frame kind of thing. And
Right.
when I got into Toon Boom, it took me a little bit because I had to realize how to sketch
Yeah.
the essentials, which kind of annoyed me because I was like, I can't sketch, and then someone showed me, here's the pen you need to make with the, transparency effect, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. It's at the end of the day, is Toon Boom good for cutout stuff? Yes. I mean, I study like usually I try to end my day with a laugh, so I watch an episode of Bob's Burgers, which by the way use a freaking a number 2 thickness on their characters. It's like that line. If you have not, let me show you exactly what I mean. I'm gonna make a new layer here for a second. Uh, let's see, add and close. The pencil. Let's say that's a 3. Let's make it 2. Because I remember I literally I am very blessed with the fact that these people actually answer when you ask questions. Friends with people on Twitter who work on the series. So this is at 100%. So that is the line thickness that they work with on Bob's Burgers for the characters.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going like, holy mackerel.
That is thin.
It's like, yeah, it's paper thin. I'm more of a 10, 15 type guy. And they're like, what's 2?
I do the same thing with my comics. I'll ink it at like 12.
Yes, exactly.
Even though I have the pen pressure sensitivity, I still like that nice thick broad line.
Yeah. So the beauty of it is, I mean, you've got Bob's Burgers. You've got Wander Over Yonder, which is incredibly funny. And then you also have, a lot of people may or may not know this, you've got the Frog Princess. Disney's The Frog Princess was actually done using Toon Boom Harmony.
Yeah.
So
Well, you can go back even further. Fairly Odd Parents was made using earlier versions of Toon Boom.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I actually was curious of what programs or what shows use this, and one of their staples, the things they like to promote, was Fairly Odd Parents, and I was like, really? And I looked over its years of animation, and I could see that as the program updated, you can tell the show was slowly updating their animation as time went on.
Coolness. By the way, let's see. Oh, and in case you haven't done it already, and I don't know the link right offhand, I'll put this in the description. But you can actually go to, matter of fact, words.
Words, why do you work?
It's like, this is bad, Tony. Like I remember teaching, what was it? I was teaching a high school class at one point, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's one of those things of forgetting how to fun times. Yuck.
I'm actually looking at the references on the Wikipedia of like all the animations that are credited with being used with Toon Boom.
Yes, and here and yeah, actually, Toon Boom, even on their most recent website, I always used to ask them of this. Hey, do you guys have a list? But they put here are all the things that we're involved with. And before anyone goes to that list and gets confused, you'll see some things that are live action. You'll see some things that might be 3D. You'll even see South Park. And let's be clear,
South Park is made with Maya.
Toon Boom has two different products, main products. It's Toon Boom Harmony and Toon Boom Storyboard.
Yes.
Storyboard is involved in a lot of it's involved in games. It's involved in major motion pictures, not just 2D stuff. And that's what happens with South Park, because South Park actually uses Maya. It could be done in Toon Boom's definitely in Toon Boom Harmony, but it works in their pipeline is using Maya. At least
I actually was watching a documentary that they made showing how they make their show within like a week's time.
Yes, exactly.
And they showed them storyboarding, and it caught it out of the corner of my eye. I was like, "That's Toon Boom storyboard." You know?
Yes, it is. It's awesome. And another plug or another shout out plug to Mark Simon, which hopefully we've been chatting lately. We'll be doing a hangout later. Mark Simon did the lynda.com training on storyboard. He is awesome. Any guy who actually designed the tattoo for Henry Winkler's butt is a pretty cool guy. That's actually a reference to the Waterboy movie. If you've ever seen it, Mark did the work for that. So, did I lose everyone?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. It's like I made a butt reference and everyone went quiet. It's like, Tony, you can't say butt. If you haven't already, you can actually go to our selfie page, and you can download the rig. We've got it listed at $10, but you can actually get it for free. Just click share and download, because the more people that know about what Tonyteach is doing, the lower we can keep our prices. And to let you know, words. Is it selfie? I actually need to. I don't have a. We are still working on rebuilding the site, so our website. So we don't have our short version of this address yet. But letting you know, we are about to release our anatomy of a 30-second short, and it's going to be featuring. Boom! There she is. Camper, Intergalactic Bounty Hunter. We're releasing her. We'll be releasing the training next week. Once it is released, it will be for $99. But up until that point, it's going to be $29. So, letting everyone know. So there's free stuff, there's discounted stuff, and if you're like, dude, I'm just going to watch the YouTube video, you can do that too. So, letting you know what's happening. We're really excited about working on this. A little bit about the scene that's going to be a camper walks into a bar. This is a clip of the bartender. I don't know if we've actually made that public. We may have to, because one thing I love about Google Hangouts is I do almost all of my training that way, and whether someone's in a different part of Georgia or like one of my prize pupils, Mac, my 12-year-old prodigy, working in Toon Boom Harmony. I think he's in Philadelphia. So the cool thing is you can actually do things and kind of keep them unlisted or private. So we've done a lot of work behind the scenes. All that work is going to be added onto the product, so you'll get to see behind the scenes. Also, us working on the script, getting voice work done. A tutorial that I've been wanting to do for ages. I already know how to do it, but it's like I've just never done it or had a reason to do. How to record a scream properly. So,
How to record a screen.
yes, it can be. You can do it the wrong way. It's like,
Oh, I know. I used to do a little bit of voice acting, but I also used to do music.
oh, excellent, dude.
I almost tore my throat up trying to do screamo music for a friend.
That's excellent.
It is not easy.
But yeah, here's the this is the this is actually in the cool part about this is we're going to be teaching it that you can use any version of Harmony. We're going to be showing you how to do the same thing. The tricky part is we're going to be doing Camper. Camper is a hinged rig. Then we're going to be doing the Bounty, because she's a bounty hunter. The guy she's going to be after, he's going to be a bone rig. It's not going to be the Pepper. It's going to be a new guy that we haven't shown yet. And last but not least, this particular character is the bartender. And it's based off of, you look at the picture here, I sent Chris this picture. This is an actual plant. If you Google hot lip plant, there's nothing wrong, but it's like, if you Google it, you'll see this is an actual plant. And I was like, let's make the character look like this. And one of the conversations as we were designing it, I was talking to Chris. I said, hey, I keep calling them or she, but I don't think it actually, I think it's both. So I was like, hey, can we do multiple hands? And the cool part about when I was working on the lessons for this, I wanted to figure out a curve deformation rig that really pushed how many different curves you have on a particular project. Now, the thing is, the curve deformer is only in Harmony Premium, but I am going to show some tricks of how you can get close to that same look using Harmony Advanced or Essentials. So yeah, just,
I think we need to give a bit of a disclaimer though. If you're going to Google and you're looking up hot lips plants, make sure your safe search is turned on.
Safe search, turn on your safe search, thank you.
Because this is the internet and Rule 34 exists.
I have no idea what that is, and I probably shouldn't.
You don't need to know.
Okay.
It is one of the many rules of the internet.
Okay, but yeah, I don't. There is a technical name for it, but I don't. But it's a really beautiful plant. But yeah, that's the catchy name for it. But yeah, I'm kind of excited, and like I said, she's the most popular to date character that we've done.
Well, I mean, look at her arm. Like, how can you not love the fact that she can turn her hand into a dragon creature?
That's one of the beautiful. There's a and this is why I love Chris, and I'm gonna kind of brag on him a bit here. One of the Google Hangouts we're doing when we're designing her, and this is a couple of months ago. I was like, yeah. I said, can she have a sword? And Chris was like, well, you mean is the whole thing a sword, or is it like a hand holding a sword? I don't know. He said, well, let's do both. I said, cool. And so I'm like, my wife said she should also have a tentacle. So it's like, I'm talking live, and Chris goes, oh, let me share my screen, and it's like he was doing shorthand while listening to me. And this is we're playing with drawing substitutions, as well as doing it became a little bit complicated. I figured out a system where we could call on the different tweens. How does she go from one shape to another? I think we figured out where she always goes from the hand to a different thing. So she'll I think it goes up 5 frames and comes down 2 frames, and there is this perfect little, I'm going to see if I can get away with zooming in. The inner glow that's happening here is actually one of the filters. And if you're freaking out and going, yeah, but you did all that, and you probably did that in Toon Boom Premium, which is what's used for Bob's Burgers or something like that. Camper was actually built before I had access to Toon Boom Harmony Premium. Camper's built in the beginner, or not, I shouldn't say beginner. Camper's totally built in Essentials, and the cool part about it is even if she were built in Harmony Premium, I could open her there, open her up in Essentials, because that's the cool thing about the pipeline Chris and I work in. He's using Nonsense and he's working in Harmony Premium. And because I do a lot of tutorials, I'm normally in Essentials. I just finished doing a massive training that's in Essentials that I can't really show any images for yet because it hasn't been released. But the cool thing is we'll flip our files from back and forth, Mac to PC, Toon Boom Harmony Premium to Toon Boom Harmony Essentials. There's no problem, even if you use there's textured pencils and brushes in Harmony Essentials, excuse me, Harmony Advanced and Premium that aren't in Essentials, but I can still see the work. I just can't edit it in Essentials. So anyway, go ahead, definitely check out what we're doing, and if you haven't already, you can also check the what's the word I'm looking for? Check out some of our other hangouts we've done where we showed how to do rain and stuff like that. By the way, Eric.
Yes.
What it's like? What attracted you to? You said you subscribed after watching Camper.
Mm-hmm.
Did she just show up in a search, or did you just see the image and go, "Hey, that looks kind of cool"? Or
I was searching up tutorials and lessons on YouTube about Toon Boom, and I was trying to find some that were a little longer, just because some of the videos were very short. They didn't really give a lot of information. And I was looking for specifics. I was looking for specifically. I was looking at how to do the way you did her eyes, where you would put the pupils outside, but then you would have that mask layer to make it so they were inside.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure out how to do that, and I was just kind of searching around tutorials, and a bunch of yours came up, and I saw that character, and I saw the eyes because it was like the thumbnail was zoomed in, and so I clicked on it and I watched that, and that's what made me subscribe, because then I watched more of the videos. Okay, cool. Because I wanted to make sure I remembered that video, so I saved it.
Coolness. I think one of the funny things about it ended up being because we were testing out the hand, but her eyes were off to the side. So this shot, it's like the more and more I look at it, I'm going, okay, now we got to work. And she does actually have eyeballs, by the way. But it's like part of me is going, huh? Is there ever a time where where her eyes go white, and what would that reason be? So. But yes, hope you guys have enjoyed this training. If you have any questions, please feel free to send questions. I try to answer them, and I will answer them in text, or how Eric and I ended up chatting is because he asked a question and it deserved it would have been easier to actually do a video response, so I do those a lot. So I try to, get people to understand and preaching the gospel of Toon Boom to all that will hear and understand it is awesome. So, anyway, I'm going to sign off now with my normal thing. This has been Tony Ross for Tonyteach.com. Remember, keep it simple. Make it perfect. If you don't have time to make it perfect, rethink the idea. Have a good one. Going to find...